Stay classy, Golden Eagles. So this is going to be the first lesson of another week of summarization and determining important ideas. So last week when we read the book Flight, that was about the life and the one particular event of Charles Lindbergh, who was the first man to fly solo across the Atlantic Ocean. Today we're going to talk about another famous pilot. This video may be 2, potentially even 3 parts, so this is going to be part 1. This book is called A Picture Book of Amelia Earhart, and it's by David Alder, and it's illustrated by Jeff Fisher. Okay, so a few things before we get started into this book. Last week we started using the discussion topic, which is the reason that I think this is. So obviously you guys don't have partners unless you're working with a brother or a sister or maybe a family member and you're doing this. But I want you guys to think about in your head, after I have you stop and turn to your partner, think about using that in your head or writing it down or whatever the case may be. But I do want you to be thinking about the questions that I'm asking in relation to what you have learned about a particular part of a story that we've read, okay? So a little bit of background on Amelia Earhart. She was the first woman to fly across the Atlantic Ocean alone. So she did this not long after Charles Lindbergh did in the previous book that we read about, Flight. She was the first woman to fly across the Atlantic alone. It was not long after Charles Lindbergh completed his flight. She changed the way that people thought about women and what women were capable of. She was really a pioneer for women in this time. This is in the 1920s. Women had just recently gotten the right to vote in federal elections in the United States. So it's really a time of change for women. They're gaining more rights, more independence, they're gaining more appreciation, and there's a lot of changes going on that's positively affecting women in this time, and Amelia Earhart was seen as a role model for a lot of young women and just women of any age. So this is a really interesting book, and it's a really fun one. This is going to be very similar to the one that we read about Harriet Tubman. I think it's from the same series, but this one's not going to just focus on one particular event, but kind of the events of her life. Okay, so sit back and enjoy the book, and I'll show you the pictures, and we will stop a couple times, and you'll turn in and talk to your partner. Amelia Earhart was born in Augusta, Kansas on July 24th, 1897. Her parents were Edwin Earhart, a lawyer for a railroad, and Amy Earhart, the daughter of a wealthy judge. In 1900, the Earharts had a second daughter, Muriel. Remember, if you want to see the pictures a little bit longer, you can always pause the video. Amelia was not a quiet schoolgirl. She threw mud balls, jumped over fences, played baseball and football, and shot her own .22 rifle to rid the family's barn of rats. When she was 7, she made her own roller coaster using fence rails and a pair of old roller skates. Although other girls their age wore long, ruffled dresses, Amelia and Muriel Earhart often wore loose-fitting pants called bloomers. The Earhart girls' behavior was shocking to some people, but Amelia wrote later, "Some elders have to be shocked for everybody's good now and then." Here's the first one. Remember, you guys can always pause if you want to look a little closer. Amelia was 11 years old when she first saw an airplane. It was 1809, 5 years after the Wright brothers made their first successful flight. Amelia wrote later that at the time she thought it was just a thing of rusty wire and wood. Not all that interesting. After high school, Amelia went to After high school, Amelia went to the Orzon School in Pennsylvania. Amelia was tall and thin. In a letter to her parents from school, she drew a sketch of herself dressed in a suit with a pleated skirt and wrote, "I look like a broomstick wrapped around and around." And she wrote, "Did I tell you I have a reputation for brains?" Remember, you guys can always pause and think about it. So, what did you learn about Amelia Earhart in that first part of the story that we read? So come up with an idea in your mind, tell your parents, turn and talk to your little brother, your sister, or just come up. Don't forget to say or use the prompt, the reason that I think this is, okay? I'm going to end this video. I'm going to try to keep them for around 5 minutes because they take a lot less time to load. So this will be the end, and when the next video starts, it will go ahead and pop up and we'll just continue to read. As always, stay classy, Golden Eagles.